millionaire CEO, caught the nanny solving a 300 errors crisis. What he did next changed her life. Before we begin, let us know in the comments which country you're watching from. And once the story ends, don't forget to rate it from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story. He kissed the maid to escape an arranged marriage, not knowing she was the woman he abandoned 7 years ago, and the mother of his son. A powerful CEO caught in a fake relationship to save his reputation. A maid who knows the truth but stays silent for her child's sake. One kiss reopens an old wound and uncovers a love story neither of them saw coming. What if the woman you forgot was the one who never stopped loving you? The woman he forgot. It started with a kiss. Not a kiss of passion, not a kiss of love. A kiss meant to silence a room, to fool the cameras, to stop a marriage he never wanted. And it landed on the lips of the one woman he should have remembered. Julian Blake didn't recognize her, not in the low maid's uniform, not with her hair pulled back, her eyes down, her presence quiet. But Olivia Carter knew exactly who he was. She'd once memorized the shape of his mouth, the way his voice lowered when he was nervous, the way he used logic to avoid pain. She had once whispered his name like a promise, and he had vanished before sunrise. 7 years later, she stood in his penthouse, folding towels that weren't hers, tucking in a 6-year-old boy who looked exactly like him, her son, his son. But Julian didn't know, because back then, he disappeared without a word, and Olivia had learned to live without closure, without answers, without him. She had taken a job at TechCore for one reason: security. It paid well. It had benefits. It had silence. What she didn't expect was to be reassigned to his building, to his home, and now, on the eve of a multi-billion-dollar merger, with the entire tech world watching, Julian Blake needed to distract the press from his cold feet. So he turned, grabbed the nearest woman in sight, and kissed her in front of everyone, not knowing she wasn't just his maid. She was the girl he left behind, and the mother of the child he never met. And just like that, the lie began. What if your past came back with your child's eyes? Chapter 1. The coldest man in the room. The penthouse was drowning in orchids and crystal. Waitstaff in black and white uniforms glided between silver trays and whispered orders. The evening light slanted through floor-to-ceiling windows, turning everything it touched into gold. Julian Blake stood near the bar, unmoving, like a statue in a museum no one dared approach. He wore the suit like it was armor, not fashion, a charcoal tuxedo tailored so sharply it could have cut through glass. His jaw clenched as he watched the guests arrive: investors, press, socialites, all of them waiting for a headline. His mother had made it clear. Tonight, he would announce his engagement to Vanessa Caldwell, Harvard-educated, model gorgeous, and colder than the wine being poured. Julian had everything: power, money, prestige. But the one thing he didn't have was escape. Until he looked across the room and saw her. She wasn't dressed for the party. Her navy blue uniform didn't sparkle, didn't shout. She was holding a tray of champagne flutes, eyes low, posture quiet, like she belonged to the background. He didn't know her name, had barely noticed the new maid before tonight, but her presence stopped him like a whisper in a crowded room. Vanessa was striding toward him now, press in tow, a photographer raising his camera. Julian's breath locked in his chest, and then he moved 2 long strides, a hand around the maid's waist, and before she could react, he pulled her to him and kissed her. There was no warning, no words, just the crash of his lips on hers, the stunned widening of her eyes, the soft sound of a glass falling somewhere behind them. The room gasped. The camera clicked. Vanessa froze, and Olivia Carter forgot how to breathe. Not because of the kiss, but because it had happened before, 7 years ago. under summer rain, on a rooftop, with the same man who now didn't recognize her at all. Julian pulled back, calm as ever. "This," he said to the crowd, "is Olivia, my partner." Olivia stared at him. Partner. The word lodged in her throat like a splinter. The crowd erupted. Champagne bubbled. Vanessa turned, trembling with rage, and stormed out. Julian let go of Olivia like nothing had happened, like it had all been a necessary move on a corporate chessboard. "I hope you don't mind," he murmured, already scanning the room again. "You just saved me from a very expensive mistake." He walked away, leaving Olivia standing in the middle of a ballroom, with her heart thundering in her ears and the taste of a forgotten memory on her lips. In the back hallway, she dropped the tray, hands trembling. She pressed her palms to her face, trying to breathe. He didn't know. He didn't remember. 7 years ago, she had loved him with her whole heart, trusted him, gave herself to him, and then woke up to an empty bed and no answers. Now, she was back in his house, washing his dishes, folding his son's clothes, their son's clothes, and he still didn't know. "Mommy!" She turned sharply. Liam stood in the hallway, in his little button-up shirt and suspenders. He was supposed to be asleep. "I heard the music," he said, rubbing his eyes. "Is it Daddy's party?" Olivia bent down, trying to smile. "No, sweetheart, just people visiting." He came closer. "I heard someone say your name. And someone kissed you." Olivia's heart stopped. Did Daddy kiss you?" She froze. The truth was so close, she could feel it behind her teeth. She brushed his hair back gently. "Let's get you back to bed." Later that night, when the music quieted and the guests trickled out, Julian stood alone on the balcony, city lights burning below him. He had done what he had to do. The board wouldn't pressure him anymore. Vanessa would be furious, but she'd move on. And Olivia, she was just a maid, a convenient solution. He didn't know why the kiss had felt familiar, why her lips reminded him of something soft and warm and long buried. Maybe just coincidence. He took another sip of scotch and stared into the night, unaware that just 2 floors down, a little boy was asleep, dreaming of dinosaurs, while holding a drawing of a man in a suit, with the words, "My Dad," written across it. The next morning was quiet, too quiet. Olivia moved through the kitchen like a ghost. Liam ate his cereal in silence, his eyes darting to the hallway. Julian entered with a yawn and loosened tie, stopped when he saw them. "Morning," he said flatly. "Morning," Olivia echoed, eyes on the sink. Liam stared at him. "Are you my mom's boyfriend now?" Julian blinked. "What? You kissed her?" Julian looked at Olivia. She didn't meet his gaze. "It was just for the party," he muttered, rubbing the back of his neck. Adults do strange things sometimes. Liam looked confused. "But do you like her?" Julian hesitated. His eyes met Olivia's for the first time since the kiss. And for a moment, something flickered in his expression. Recognition. Regret. No. Just distance. "I have to get to the office," he said. Turning away, Liam frowned. "You didn't answer." But Julian was already gone. Later that afternoon, Olivia sat on the edge of her bed, a shoebox in her lap. Inside, a folded internship letter, a faded photo of the Tech Core summer event, and a hospital bracelet with Liam's birth date. She had never asked Julian for anything, not help, not money, not even acknowledgement. But watching her son ask questions she couldn't answer was starting to chip away at her silence. He deserved more than shadows. She closed the box and whispered to herself, "You left me first. You don't get to kiss me like that again." And not remember. But memory, like love, has a way of coming back when we least expect it. Chapter 2. The Boy with His Father's Eyes. The penthouse looked untouched by the night before. No trace of the champagne, the whispers, the scandal. Just quiet and sunlight streaming through spotless windows. Julian poured black coffee into a ceramic mug like it was fuel. He hadn't slept well, not because of guilt. He rarely allowed himself that luxury, but because something about the kiss still lingered. The way her lips parted in shock, the way her hand didn't push him away, the way she had looked at him afterward, not confused, but hurt, like she'd expected him to do it, or worse, like he had done it before. He rubbed his temples. It was all a blur, a necessary mess. He didn't owe her anything. She was just the maid, except she wasn't. Not really. Olivia was in the laundry room, folding towels, when Henry knocked gently. "Morning," he said, soft as always. He handed her a clipboard with the week's errands and paused before leaving. "Are you okay?" he asked. She looked up. "Why wouldn't I be?" He hesitated. "I saw the footage." "The kiss." She froze. Henry lowered his voice. "You looked like someone who'd been kissed before. By him." Her breath caught. "Does he know?" Olivia forced a smile. "He doesn't remember." Henry nodded once, understanding more than she wanted him to. "I'll make sure no one bothers you," he said. "Thank you," she whispered. But what she meant was thank you for seeing me. Later that morning, Julian passed the playroom and froze. Liam sat on the carpet, carefully piecing together a puzzle. Dinosaurs and volcanoes exploding into a cardboard sky. Julian watched for a moment. The boy's brows furrowed in concentration, a dimple forming as he figured out where the pterodactyl wing belonged. Something tugged inside Julian's chest. He stepped in. "Hey, kid." Liam looked up. "You're the man who kissed my mom." Julian blinked. That's one way to start a conversation. Liam shrugged. "Are you going to do it again?" Julian sat on the floor across from him, unsure how to answer. "I don't think so," he said honestly. "Why not?" "Because it wasn't real," he wanted to say. "Because I don't know who she is. Because I'm not the kind of man who thinks about maids in the middle of the night." But all he said was, "I don't think she liked it." Liam considered that. She was really quiet after. "Is she mad at me?" Julian sighed. "I think she's confused." "So are you?" Liam said plainly. Julian stared at the kid. "Excuse me." Liam leaned in like he was sharing a secret. "My teacher says when grown-ups don't know what they feel, they act weird." Julian laughed despite himself. "And do you think I'm weird?" Liam nodded solemnly. "You frown, even when nothing's wrong. That's weird." Julian looked at him. Really looked. The boy had Olivia's quietness, but his eyes were Julian's. Same amber-brown hue. Same way. The left eye crinkled first. When he smiled, he felt a flicker of something he didn't want to name. "You're pretty smart," Julian said. Getting up, Liam shrugged. "I watch people." That evening, Olivia stood on the balcony, watching the city blink to life as dusk fell. She held Liam's jacket in her hands, freshly laundered, the collar still warm. She remembered Julian's voice from 7 years ago. Low, careful, curious. "You want to walk home or keep dancing?" "I want to remember this night forever." And she had, even after the rejection, even after the job offer was mysteriously rescinded, her emails unanswered. She remembered the way he'd looked at her like she mattered, until she didn't. She turned when she heard footsteps behind her. Julian. He leaned against the doorframe, hands in his pockets. "Thank you for playing along," he said quietly. She didn't answer. He looked out at the skyline. "My mother thinks I've finally lost it." "I can't imagine why," Olivia said, her voice light but edged. He almost smiled. "Almost. I wanted to ask you something." She turned slightly. "Have we met before?" The question landed like a stone in her stomach. Her fingers clenched around the fabric in her hands. "I don't think so," she lied. Julian studied her. "You just seem familiar." She kept her gaze on the skyline. "Maybe I just have one of those faces." Silence stretched between them. "I should get dinner started," she said. As she passed him, their arms brushed. He didn't move, and for 1 second, one heartbeat, she wanted to scream the truth. I know you. You kissed me before, and then you left. But she walked on, because the past didn't matter now. What mattered was Liam, and Liam deserved peace. Not a father who remembered too late, but memory has a pulse, and his was beginning to beat again. Chapter 3. The Note She Never Sent. Julian sat in the executive conference room at TechCore HQ, surrounded by glass walls and men in sharp suits arguing about innovation and IPOs. He should have cared. This merger was worth billions. The deal would elevate the company to a global tier. Investors were watching. The board was breathing down his neck, but all he could think about was her, the maid, with the tired eyes and careful hands, the way she avoided him now, like her silence was armor, and the boy, Liam, whose eyes mirrored his own. Julian didn't believe in fate. He believed in data, logic, deliverables. But lately, he couldn't shake the feeling that the past was circling back, that he had missed something important, and that Olivia Carter was at the center of it. That night, while Julian drowned in spreadsheets and shareholder reports, Olivia stood in the hallway holding something she'd hidden for years, a letter, folded and creased, its ink faded, but still legible. Dear Julian, I don't know if you'll ever read this. Maybe you'll never even remember me, but I wanted you to know you mattered. Even if you left, even if you never call, I loved you once. And from that night, a new life began. His name is Liam. He has your eyes. He is everything. She had never sent it. What would have been the point? After that night, 7 years ago, after he disappeared, the internship offer revoked, the office doors closed. She'd realized she was just a name on a long list of women who didn't matter. But Liam had mattered. He had saved her from bitterness, from rage, from becoming someone small. She burned the letter that night in the fireplace, let the ashes fall like snow across the hearth. The next morning, Liam ran into the kitchen, waving a napkin. Mom, look what I made. She turned, startled, and took it in her hands. A drawing, crayon lines of 3 stick figures, a tall man, a woman with big hair, and a smiling boy. He had written in large block letters, "My family." She knelt beside him. Sweetheart, who's this? That's you, and that's me, he said, pointing. And that's Dad. Olivia's heart stopped. Why did you draw us like this? Because that's how it should be. She stared at him, tears stinging her eyes. He looked up at her with all the innocence in the world. Do you think Daddy would ever want to live with us? She hugged him tight, tight enough to silence the question, tight enough to hide her trembling. He already does, she thought. He just doesn't know what he has. Meanwhile, across the city, Julian was in his office reading old intern records. He wasn't even sure why, but the name Olivia Carter itched at the back of his mind. He opened the files. There she was. TechCore Summer Program, 2016. Computer Science major. Sharp. Quiet. Showed promise. Then dismissed. No further record. Internship rescinded. Why? He scrolled through emails, archived notices, flagged memos. Nothing stood out until he found one marked confidential. Read. Olivia Carter, CEO, interaction, urgent, from HR director to legal plus executive team. The email was short. Per Mrs. Blake's instruction, remove the candidate from the program immediately. CEO, unaware of interaction. Julian sat back in his chair, eyes wide. His mother, she had done it. She had removed Olivia without ever telling him. He clenched his jaw, and slowly, pieces began to fall into place. That night, Julian returned to the penthouse and found Henry in the study. How long have you known? Julian asked. Henry didn't pretend. Since the gala, and you didn't tell me. She asked for silence. I honored it. Julian nodded slowly. Is Liam? He couldn't say it out loud. Henry met his eyes. Look in the mirror. In the hallway. Julian stopped outside Liam's room. The door was slightly ajar. Inside, Olivia was tucking him in. Do you want a bedtime story? She asked softly. Liam yawned. Tell me the pirate one again. The one with the secret island. Yeah, the one where the treasure wasn't gold. It was a family. Julian pressed a hand to the wall. He remembered that story. He had once told it on a rooftop, under stars, to a girl with laughing eyes and a brain sharper than any boardroom shark. A girl who had whispered, I don't want your money. I just want you to remember me. He hadn't, but now, it was all coming back. He had forgotten her once, but this time, he wasn't going to let her walk away again. Chapter 4. The confrontation he wasn't ready for. The city pulsed with thunder. Storm clouds gathered above Manhattan like a warning. But inside the penthouse, it was quieter than ever. Too quiet. Julian stood in the doorway of the kitchen, watching her. Olivia stood by the sink, her sleeves rolled, hands submerged in soapy water. Her movements were precise, familiar, measured. He cleared his throat. She didn't look up. I already cleaned the study. That's not why I'm here. A pause. Then the soft clinking of dishes resumed. Julian stepped closer. I read the intern files today. Her hands stopped. I know what my mother did. I know about the email. Olivia said nothing. She had you removed. She lied to me. I know. Olivia cut in softly. Now she looked up. Her eyes weren't angry. They were tired. You knew. I found out after a friend from the program told me, said there were rumors that someone powerful shut the door. She shrugged. Didn't take much to guess who. Julian's throat tightened. You should have told me. She let out a small, sad laugh. Told you what, Julian? That I mattered to you for one night and was discarded the next. That your silence said more than any letter could. He stepped forward. It wasn't silence. I didn't know. Exactly, she said. You didn't know. You didn't care to. Those words landed like stones in his chest. I searched for you, he said. After that night. No, you didn't. I did, he insisted. I called HR. They told me you left the program. No forwarding contact. No explanation. Because your mother erased me. Because you let her. A beat of silence. Rain tapped the glass behind them. Julian's voice cracked. And Liam? Olivia's spine straightened. She crossed her arms slowly, protectively. He's mine, she said. He's ours. He's mine, she repeated, firmer this time. He has my eyes. He has my heart, she whispered. Julian was silent. I didn't ask you for anything, Olivia said, voice trembling. Not help, not money, not acknowledgement. I built a life, quietly, carefully. You lied. I survived. Julian turned away, gripping the edge of the counter. I missed everything, he said. His first steps, his first words, everything. And you think that's harder for you than it was for me? He didn't respond. I watched him grow, with a face that reminded me of a man who disappeared. She continued, and still, I never told him to hate you. I never poisoned him against you, because I knew one day he might ask, and I wanted to tell him that his father, at the very least, was brilliant, that he was kind once, that he wasn't just gone. Julian turned to face her. Do you think I wouldn't have stayed? If I had known, I don't know, Olivia said quietly. That's the point. I don't know you anymore. The thunder cracked outside. Inside, the silence shattered. Julian whispered, I want to know him. Olivia blinked. I want to know Liam. I want to make up for the time I lost. I want to try to be what? She asked. A weekend dad? A headline? Another promise you can't keep. He stepped closer. I don't have the right words. Julian admitted. I only have this. He pulled a folded photo from his wallet. It was wrinkled, torn slightly at the edges. The one thing he'd kept from that night. The rooftop photo. Her smile in the rain. Him holding her hand. Laughter, frozen in time. I remembered you, he said. Tears filled her eyes. Just not fast enough, she whispered. From the hallway, a small voice called out, Mom? They both turned. Liam stood in the doorway, rubbing his eyes, the storm having shaken him awake. I heard yelling. Olivia moved toward him. It's okay, sweetheart. But Julian knelt. Hey, bud, he said softly. Liam looked at him. Julian reached into his jacket and pulled out a tiny dinosaur figurine, the kind Liam loved. I think this one belongs to a very brave boy. Liam took it. You're curious. Julian looked at Olivia. Can I tuck him in tonight? She hesitated, then nodded once. 10 minutes later, Julian sat at the edge of Liam's bed, listening to the boy talk about space and math and what dinosaurs would do if they had iPads. Julian smiled through the ache in his chest. He didn't know what redemption looked like, but it sounded like this, a child's voice, a second chance. When Liam's eyes finally closed, Julian stood and turned. Olivia stood in the doorway, silent. He's amazing, Julian whispered. She nodded. He gets that from me. Julian smiled. No argument here. She watched him for a long moment, then quietly said, Don't hurt him. I won't, he promised. She paused. And don't hurt me again either. Julian's expression softened. I'm trying. I know. Forgiveness doesn't happen in a moment, but sometimes healing begins with letting someone try. Chapter 5. Saturdays with Dinosaurs. It was the first Saturday. Julian hadn't opened his laptop by 8 ans, XR and my quachir and kaitza m. Instead, he stood barefoot in the kitchen, confused by pancake batter. Liam sat at the counter, swinging his feet, watching with amusement. You're not supposed to stir it that much. Julian raised an eyebrow. Says who? Says Mom. She says, if you stir too much, they get mad. Pancakes get mad. Yep, and then they taste like regret. Julian laughed a real laugh, full and free. I'll try not to upset them. He flipped the first pancake with the elegance of someone used to flipping contracts, not breakfast. It landed sideways, slightly burned, questionably edible. Liam made a face. Julian sighed. Okay, maybe I do need your mom. She's at the store, Liam said, but I can help. I know how she does it. Julian paused, then handed over the spatula. Liam grinned. By the time Olivia returned, the kitchen was a mess of flour, syrup, and dinosaur-shaped chaos. But she stopped in the doorway, watching them. Julian's hair was a bit flour-dusted. Liam wore an apron twice his size. The table was set kind of. The air smelled like slightly overcooked joy. She smiled. Who authorized this sugar explosion? She asked, setting the grocery bag down. Dad did, Liam chirped. Julian stiffened slightly, but Olivia didn't correct him. Not today. They ate on the balcony, sun warming their faces, laughter softening the spaces between them. Julian watched Olivia as she sipped her coffee. She wasn't wearing makeup. Her hair was still pulled back, but he'd never seen anything more stunning. You ever think about coming back to tech? He asked, watching her. She blinked. Where'd that come from? You're brilliant. Olivia, you could do anything. She shrugged. I did. I raised a good kid. That's not all you are. I know. She set her cup down, eyes steady, but you only just started seeing the rest. Later that afternoon, Julian found an old photo album in the study, one he hadn't touched since before his divorce. It was filled with pictures of his childhood. One photo caught Liam's attention. Who's that kid? Julian smiled. That's me, age 6. Liam stared at the photo. You looked serious even back then. Julian chuckled. Yeah, I think I came out frowning. Why? Julian considered it. Maybe. I didn't have anyone to teach me how to laugh. Liam looked up. I can teach you. Julian swallowed the lump in his throat. I'd like that. That night, Olivia found a note on her pillow. Not a typed memo. Not a corporate proposal. Just a simple, handwritten note in messy block letters. Dear Mom, I like when you smile more. I like when Julian smiles too. Can we keep being a family? Even if it's weird sometimes? Love. Liam. She sat on the bed, the note trembling in her hands. She remembered all the nights she'd cried quietly beside Liam's crib, all the job rejections, the skipped meals, the exhausted prayers, and now, here they were, in a penthouse she once cleaned, with a man she once loved, with a child who reminded her that love, real love, doesn't care about timing. Meanwhile, Julian stared at his computer screen and didn't open it. Instead, he opened the balcony door, walked out into the night air, and breathed, not for a deal, not for performance, but for himself. And for the first time in years, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt full. Some families are chosen, some are rediscovered, but the most beautiful ones are the ones built day by day. Chapter 6. The Woman Who Built Walls. The invitation arrived in a gold-trimmed envelope. Formal, elegant, impersonal. Blake Foundation Charity Garden Brunch. Saturday. 11 a.m. Formal attire. Attendance required. Julian sighed, tossing it onto the table. I thought you hated these events. Olivia said, drying her hands. I do. He replied, but it's my mother's way of measuring loyalty. She raised an eyebrow. And will I be expected to attend? He hesitated. Only if you want to. She returned to folding Liam's clothes, pretending the question didn't stab. Will she be there? Olivia asked quietly. She always is. Saturday arrived, cloaked in sunshine and tension. The garden behind the Blake estate was pristine hedges trimmed to military precision. White roses, blooming like silent witnesses. Julian walked beside Olivia, who wore a soft blue dress and a quiet expression. Liam ran ahead, chasing butterflies. You don't have to stay long, Julian whispered. I'll be fine, she replied, but her hand clutched her purse tightly. Then came the voice Olivia had hoped to avoid. I see you've brought your housekeeper to a charity brunch. Evelyn Blake appeared like frost in July, immaculate in a cream suit, pearls, and that familiar chill behind her smile. Olivia froze. Julian stepped in. Mother, no need to explain. Evelyn interrupted, sipping champagne. She's just the help. Olivia said nothing, not at first. She simply looked at the woman who had once erased her life with an email, and suddenly, the years collapsed inward. That summer internship, the rejection letter, the fear in her gut when she learned she was pregnant and alone. All of it because of this woman. I may be the help, Olivia said, voice steady, but I don't lie about who I am. Evelyn's smile thinned. I take care of your grandson every single day. Olivia continued, I feed him, raise him, love him, while you barely know what color his eyes are. Julian's eyes widened. Evelyn blinked. Excuse me. Liam came running up, interrupting the moment. Mom, look, I caught a butterfly. Evelyn turned white. Mom, she whispered. Julian wrapped an arm around Olivia's waist. Yes, Mother. Her name is Olivia. She's brilliant. She's kind. And she's the mother of my child. Gasps rippled through the nearby guests, but Julian didn't flinch. I should have known sooner. I should have fought harder. But now, I'm done hiding. Evelyn set her glass down, her hand shaking slightly. You'll regret this, she said. No, Julian replied. I regret everything that led to this moment, but not this, never her. They left early. The car ride home was quiet. Liam fell asleep in the back seat, clutching a small, velvet butterfly pin Evelyn had dropped in the grass. Julian drove in silence until Olivia finally whispered, "Thank you." He glanced at her. For what? For seeing me. For standing up to her. He smiled gently. "You stood long before I ever did." She looked out the window, voice barely audible. "I used to wonder what I'd say to her if I ever saw her again. And I didn't think I'd be this calm." Julian reached over and took her hand. "You were incredible." She let herself hold his hand for just a moment longer than before. That night, Olivia sat on the edge of her bed, staring at Liam asleep across the room. Julian knocked once before stepping inside. "I wanted to check on you," he said. "I'm okay," she whispered. "Liar," she smirked faintly, a little broken. "But okay." He came and sat beside her. "She'll come after me. Julian, she'll find a way." "I won't let her." "She already tried once, and she won." Julian shook his head. "She didn't win. She just delayed something inevitable." Olivia's eyes glistened. "I'm tired," she said softly. "Then let me carry it. For once, let me be the one who shows up." A long silence stretched between them. And then, quietly, Olivia rested her head on his shoulder. "I don't need saving," she said. "I know," he whispered. "But I do." Sometimes the bravest thing isn't walking away. It's staying when your heart still remembers how it broke. Chapter 7. The night everything almost ended. The rain came like a warning. Not gentle, not romantic. A downpour that slapped against the windows and drowned the city in silver. Julian was in his study, alone. His face lit only by the glow of the laptop screen and the storm beyond. Lines of code blurred. Projections, losses, predictions. Nothing made sense anymore. A scandal was brewing. One of TechCore's oldest investors had leaked a false rumor, and the board was panicking. And at the center of it all was his silence. Meanwhile, Olivia stood in the hallway. She could hear his voice behind the closed door, angry, controlled, breaking. Henry passed behind her quietly. "He hasn't slept," Henry said. "Neither have I. You should talk to him. He doesn't want me to." Henry paused, then gently added, "Maybe he does, just doesn't know how to say it." Olivia looked at the study door, heart pounding. How do you walk back into the arms of the man who once let you fall? She found him with his head in his hands. "Julian." He didn't look up. "You shouldn't be in here," he muttered. "You didn't lock the door." "That was a mistake." "So was staying silent for 7 years," she whispered. That got his attention. He looked at her, eyes rimmed with fatigue, hair a mess, suit jacket wrinkled, like he hadn't moved in hours. "Why are you here?" "Olivia." She took a shaky breath. "Because I need to know if you're fighting for us, or just fighting to clean up your name." He stared at her. Then slowly, quietly, "I don't know the difference anymore." That admission hit harder than any shouted argument. She folded her arms. "Do you even want me here?" "Yes." "Then why do you keep pushing me away?" "Because I don't deserve this." "You." "Him." "That's not your choice to make." Julian stood. "You don't understand." "I understand more than you think," she snapped. "I understand what it feels like to be left behind, to be erased, to have your entire future rewritten by someone else's decision." Julian closed his eyes. "I'm trying. Try harder." There was a long pause. Then she whispered, "Do you love me?" Julian looked at her. "I did," he said. "I do?" She nodded. Tears welled. "Then say it. Say it like it matters." "I love you." "Olivia Carter," he said. "I've loved you since the moment I kissed you on that stupid rooftop. I've loved you through silence, through guilt, through every single day I didn't deserve it." Her voice cracked. "Then stop running." "I'm not." "You are. Every time you close a door, every time you say you're protecting me, you're really protecting yourself. From shame, from regret, from the truth. Outside, lightning tore the sky apart. Inside, Olivia turned to leave. "If you want this, if you want us, you don't need to prove anything to me." "Julian," she said over her shoulder. You need to stop hiding. She walked out, and this time, Julian didn't stop her. Hours passed. Julian sat alone, staring at a photo of Liam taped to the inside of his laptop. The boy's smile, the freckles he shared with Olivia, the eyes that mirrored his own. Henry appeared in the doorway. Should I worry about her packing a suitcase? She didn't, Julian murmured. Good, because if you lose her again, Julian. Henry shook his head. There won't be a second miracle. Julian looked up. I need to fix this. Henry smiled faintly. Then start with the truth. At 4 a.m., Julian slipped a letter under Olivia's door. He didn't knock, didn't wake her, but he stood in the hallway for a long time after, just listening to the sound of her breath on the other side. The letter read, Olivia, I failed 1,000 ways, but loving you was never one of them. I didn't know how to fight when you needed me, but I'm learning now. If you let me, I'm not asking you to forget. I'm asking for the chance to build something new with you, with Liam, not as a CEO, not as a man fixing mistakes, just as someone who wants to come home every day to you. Julian, sometimes love isn't loud. It's a note slipped under a door and a hope that the person on the other side still wants to read it. Chapter 8, Rooftop Memory, Morning Light. At sunrise, Julian climbed the rooftop stairs, not to escape, not to brood, but because it was the one place where everything began. 7 years ago, on this rooftop, he kissed a girl he barely knew and lost her in the morning silence. Now, the skyline was unchanged, but he wasn't. He set down 2 cups of coffee on the table, waited, hoped. The air was cool, soft, with the scent of rain from the night before. Then he heard the creak of the door. Olivia stepped out, wearing a sweatshirt, her hair pulled into a messy knot. You left coffee, she said quietly. I hoped you'd come. She looked around. Funny. I always thought this rooftop was a dream. Julian smiled. It was. She walked slowly to the table, sat across from him. Did you read the letter? He asked. She nodded. Twice. Silence stretched like morning mist. Why did you really kiss me that night? She finally asked. Julian looked at her. Because I was supposed to be someone else's puppet, and you were the first real thing I'd touched in years. Olivia blinked. I don't remember what we said to each other, he added, but I remember how you looked at me, like I mattered outside my last name. You did, she whispered. You still do. They sat there, coffee growing cold between them. Julian pulled something from his pocket, the old photo from their rooftop kiss. I had this printed, he said, from security footage. I kept it all these years. She took the photo gently. Her eyes brimmed. I was smiling, she murmured. I was falling. Julian, she said, voice trembling. I need to ask something before I take another step. He nodded. If Liam wasn't in the picture, would you still love me? He didn't flinch. Yes, she closed her eyes. Because I fell in love with you before I knew I was carrying his heart, he added. Olivia opened her eyes again. And now I love you both, but I don't need to be needed. He reached across the table, hand palm up. I want to be chosen. She stared at his hand. So many days, she'd longed for this moment, for him to see her, to offer something real. But healing isn't a straight road, and trust isn't given. It's rebuilt, still. She placed her hand in his, lightly, not a promise, but not nothing. He didn't squeeze. He just let it rest there, warm, open, willing. They returned inside quietly. Liam was still asleep, sprawled across Julian's bed, like a king in his castle. Olivia tucked him in again, brushing the hair from his forehead. Julian stood in the doorway. I was thinking, he said. Maybe we should tell him soon. Olivia looked up. Tell him what? That I'm not just the man who makes pancakes and plays dinosaurs. She smiled faintly. You think he doesn't know? Julian looked at his son. He calls you Mom, Sophia. Julian said, maybe someday I can be Dad Julian. Oh, or just Dad. Olivia walked over to him. You already are. He just doesn't know the whole story yet. Julian glanced at her. And you? She held his gaze. I'm still writing that chapter, she said softly, but you're in it. Later that day, Olivia returned to the rooftop alone. The breeze tugged at her hair. She held the photo between her fingers. Two people smiling in the rain. Before they knew who they'd become, before life unraveled, she slid the photo into her notebook, then wrote one line beneath it. Some love stories begin in silence. Others begin again when both hearts are finally listening. She wasn't running anymore, and he wasn't hiding. Now, all that remained was telling the truth to the one person who mattered most. Chapter 9. The Day. He called me Dad. The day felt like a soft beginning. The kind of day where the air was clean, the sky just shy of blue, and nothing had to be forced. Julian had planned it for weeks, a family day. No pressure, just time. Time to be 3 people instead of 2 and a ghost. The Seattle Aquarium had always been Liam's favorite place. He pressed his nose to the glass at the jellyfish tank. They glow like magic, he whispered. Julian knelt beside him. Do you know why they glow? Liam shook his head, eyes wide. Because even the most fragile things can make their own light. They spent hours wandering exhibits. Olivia watched Julian watch Liam. He didn't hover, didn't try too hard. He just stayed, present, warm, learning the rhythm of a child's curiosity. At lunch, Julian bought Liam a plush octopus from the gift shop. He handed it over sheepishly. I know I missed a lot of birthdays, he said, but maybe I can start catching up. Liam hugged the toy tightly. It's okay, he said. You're here now. Olivia blinked hard and turned away. Julian just smiled. That night, Liam curled up on the couch, sleepy and content. Olivia folded laundry nearby, and Julian sat beside his son. Hey, buddy, Julian said softly. Liam looked up, half drowsy. Can I tell you something? Sure. Julian glanced at Olivia. She gave a barely there nod. Julian turned back to Liam. You know how some people don't get to meet their dads right away? Liam nodded slowly. Well, I'm your dad. Silence. Then Liam said, I kinda guessed. Julian's heart stopped. You did. You look like me when you get grumpy, Liam said. And when you smile like this, he pulled a face Julian didn't know he made. It's the same. Julian laughed through a tear. I didn't know how to tell you, he whispered. Liam crawled into his lap. You just did. Julian held him like he was made of stars and second chances. Later, after Liam had fallen asleep in Julian's arms, Olivia leaned against the doorway. You handled that better than I imagined, she said. Julian looked down at the sleeping boy. I was more scared than I've ever been. Why? Because what if he didn't want me? Olivia walked over, brushed a hand across Julian's shoulder. Liam's known your heart longer than you've known his name. Julian blinked at her. I think I'm falling in love with both of you at the same time, she whispered. Then fall gently. The next morning, Liam bounced into the kitchen. Dad, can we make pancakes again? Julian looked up from the newspaper. Say that again. Liam grinned. I said, Dad. You like it? Julian swallowed hard. Yeah, I do. From across the kitchen, Olivia smiled. And for once, she didn't feel the need to brace for heartbreak. That night, Julian found another note taped to his laptop. Dear Dad, next time, let's add chocolate chips. Love, Liam. P.S. You're not that bad at pancakes anymore. Julian folded the note and slid it into his desk drawer, right beside Olivia's first resume, and the photo from the rooftop, and the letter he wrote her when he finally stopped hiding. Some titles are earned, some are gifted. but the ones that matter most are spoken by a child who finally knows who you are. Chapter 10. Fixing the Roof While It's Sunny. Seattle had one of those rare, golden afternoons. No rain, no rush, just light that made everything look like it belonged. Julian stood on the rooftop, watching Liam ride his tiny bike in circles on the stone patio below. Olivia sat nearby, cross-legged with her laptop, eyes soft but guarded. "I had the roof redone," Julian said gently. Olivia glanced up. "Was it leaking?" "No, but they say you should fix the roof while it's sunny." She gave him a look. He smiled. "I'm not just talking about shingles." Downstairs, Henry was teaching Liam how to tie a real necktie. The boy kept twisting it like a magic trick. Julian turned to Olivia. "I want tonight to be more than just a company event." She raised an eyebrow. He continued, "I want them to know everything. About us. About you. I don't want a spotlight. It's not about the spotlight. It's about being seen." Olivia shut her laptop, her voice low. "I spent years disappearing." Julian stepped closer. "I know, but now I want the world to see what I see." She looked at him, long and hard, then whispered, "Then I need you to see all of me, too. Not just the brilliant parts, the scared ones, the tired ones, the ones that almost didn't come back." Julian touched her face gently. "I already do." That evening, TechCore's winter gala shimmered with silver lights and polite applause. The ballroom echoed with names and titles, sponsors, board chairs, venture partners. But when Julian took the stage, something shifted. "I won't talk about numbers tonight," he began. "I want to talk about people." People tilted their heads, waited. He took a deep breath. "Years ago, I made a mistake. I let someone walk away without a fight. I buried truth under ambition and silence." He glanced at Olivia in the crowd, standing near the back, her hand resting gently on Liam's shoulder. "But life gave me another chance," he said. "And this time, I showed up." Murmurs spread. Julian went on. "She was my maid. Then she became my mirror. She reminded me who I was when I forgot." He looked straight at her. "And now, I'd like to ask if she'd become my future." Gasps, audible gasps. Liam's eyes went wide. "Is he doing what I think he's doing?" he whispered. Julian stepped off stage, walked toward her, not with a ring, but with a folded note. She unfolded it slowly. "Let's build a life where no one has to hide. Let's fix the roof while the sun's still shining. Will you marry me as my equal, my co-parent, my best friend?" "Julian." Olivia looked up. "I hate public proposals." "I know," he whispered, "but I love you." Julian smiled. "So, is that a yes?" She kissed him softly, right there, in the middle of the ballroom. Liam cheered. Someone clapped. Then everyone did. Later, as they danced under low lights, Julian held Olivia close. "You okay?" She nodded, still terrified. "That's good," he said. "Means it's real." She leaned into him. "And Evelyn," she sent flowers with a note that said, "Welcome to the family." "Olivia, Olivia blinked. "Seriously?" She also donated $50, 000 to the library where you studied. Olivia laughed, tearful. "Well," she whispered, "then I guess miracles happen." As the night faded and guests trickled out, Julian lifted Liam onto his shoulders. "You tired, buddy?" "Not really." "Me neither," Julian said. Olivia walked beside them, heels in hand, hair undone. "You know," she said, "I never imagined this." "What?" Julian asked. "A man like you, kneeling with a note instead of a ring, begging for a future with a woman who used to clean his floors." Julian kissed her forehead. "And I never imagined a woman like you being strong enough to carry both our hearts while I caught up back home." Liam fell asleep in Julian's arms. Julian tucked him in, brushed the boy's hair back. "He called me dad today, twice." Olivia smiled. You're getting promoted. Julian turned to her. What about you? I'm still your maid, she teased. But now I charge premium rates. He laughed. You'll always be more than that. She touched his face. And you'll always be the man who finally came home. Love doesn't always arrive with fanfare. Sometimes it slips through a crack in the roof. Sometimes it kisses you by accident in a hallway. But when it stays, when it sees every piece of you, even the ones you tried to hide, that's when you know it's not just a love story. It's home. She was never just the maid. Narration soft, like a whisper before sleep. Sometimes love comes in loud. Other times it enters your life quietly, wearing a uniform, holding a lunch tray, fixing your broken systems one line of code at a time. Julian Blake used to believe in strategy, power, control. Now he believed in quiet things. A small hand tugging at his coat, a woman humming in the hallway, a note scribbled on the back of a grocery list. Love didn't crash into him. It revealed itself bit by bit, day by day, until all that was left was the truth. He'd kissed a maid to escape a lie and fell into the arms of the woman he was always meant to choose. Tonight, the penthouse wasn't filled with executives or strategy meetings. It was filled with life. Liam was playing with Henry's old chessboard. Evelyn was helping Olivia hem her new dress for the company's upcoming diversity gala. Julian was burning pancakes again, but this time on purpose, to make Liam laugh. And Olivia, she was sitting in the kitchen, barefoot, smiling, like she finally exhaled after 7 long years of holding her breath. I used to think the worst thing was being forgotten, she says. Now I know the worst thing is forgetting who you are. And the best thing is finally being seen. They never did have a grand wedding. No designer gown, no royal venue, just a backyard, a borrowed string quartet, and a little boy who walked his mom down the aisle and whispered to Julian, "Now you're both really home." Julian cried. Olivia didn't, because she already knew. She had been home the moment he chose to stay. To every woman who's ever been overlooked, to every heart that kept loving, even after it was broken. This story is for you. It's a reminder that you don't have to be perfect to be worthy. You don't need a title to matter. And sometimes, the very thing meant to save you shows up in a form you never expected. A janitor, a nanny, a maid, or maybe, just maybe, you. If this story moved you, if you saw a piece of yourself in Olivia or Julian, then don't rush to the next thing. Pause here, breathe with it, carry it, and if you're ready for another story that goes even deeper, where healing is earned and love arrives through the cracks, click the next chapter, the next life, the next second chance. We'll be waiting there for you. What did you think of this story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Rate it from 0 to 10. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a story. And stay tuned. More powerful stories are waiting for you right here.